Let's talk about one of the biggest, most nagging questions in AI right now. How should an AI actually remember things? And I'm not just talking about for a single conversation, I mean permanently. We're going to dig into the philosophy behind a tool that offers a really, really clever answer.
So, here's the game plan. We're going to start with why AI seems so forgetful. Then, we'll introduce a tool called claude-mem and unpack its core philosophy, which is the really juicy part. From there, we'll hit a classic fork in the road. Do we use it or not? Steal 3 brilliant ideas and land on the one big takeaway you can use in pretty much any project.
All right, let's dive right in. Section 1, the AI's memory problem. And we have to start with a frustration that I am sure you have all felt. Some people are even calling it AI amnesia. Sound familiar? You know the feeling. You spend a whole session, maybe hours, carefully explaining the context of a project, getting your AI agent perfectly dialed in, only to come back the next day and it has zero clue what you're talking about. It's like Groundhog Day for developers. It's a huge bottleneck, and it is the problem we need to solve.
So how do we fix this? Well, that brings us to Section 2, and a super interesting open source project that takes this AI amnesia problem head on. The tool is called claude-mem.
Okay, so what is claude-mem? At its heart, it's basically a system that's designed to give the Claude AI a real persistent memory. It watches everything the AI does, then it actually uses AI to summarize and compress those actions into memories, and then, this is the clever part, it feeds the important bits back in the next time you start a session.
And wow, is it packed with features. You've got persistent memory, of course, privacy controls, a web UI, the whole shebang. But out of all of these, 2 things really stand out. First, it's fully automatic. And second, it's built on this philosophy called progressive disclosure. And that philosophy, that is the real game changer here.
And this really brings us to the core of this whole explainer. Because look, the tool itself is cool, but the philosophy behind it, that's the secret sauce. This is where things get really interesting.
The whole thing is built on this absolutely brilliant metaphor. Think of the AI's context window as a bank account. Now, most systems, they just dump every single piece of information they might need right at the start. That's not just expensive in terms of tokens, it leads to something called context rot, where the AI just gets totally overwhelmed by noise. You wouldn't spend your whole paycheck the second you get it, so why would you burn your entire context window from the get-go?
And here's that difference in action. On the left, you've got the old way, a technique a lot of us use called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. It's basically a data dump. You just throw everything at the wall and hope something sticks. But progressive disclosure, man, it is so much more elegant. It doesn't dump data, it just gives the AI an index. It empowers the AI to ask for exactly what it needs, right when it needs it.
So how does this actually work? Well, it's this elegant 3-layer workflow. Step 1 is a super lightweight search. The AI just gets an index of its available memories. Think of it like you scanning the headlines of a newspaper. Now, if a headline catches its eye, it moves to step 2. It requests a timeline of related events to get the context. And only then, once it's confident that this information is actually relevant, does it move to the final step and spend its precious context currency to get the full, detailed memory. See? It's a funnel, from broad to specific, and it is incredibly efficient.
So this all sounds amazing, right? Like, why isn't everyone just installing claude-mem on everything? Well, hold on. Here comes the reality check.
But first, get a load of this number, 88%. That's how much the creators were able to reduce their code base by redesigning their tools to force this 3-step workflow. This is so important. The magic here isn't just in the idea, it's in designing a system where the right way is the only way. You don't just ask the AI to remember a process, you build that process directly into its tools. And this is where we hit that reality check. As powerful as claude-mem is, it's also really locked into a very specific environment. It's got heavy dependencies on Node, Bun, and Python, and here's the real kicker, a restrictive AGPL license, which, for many commercial projects, is an absolute deal breaker. So for most of us, just installing it directly, well, it's off the table.
Okay, so if we can't adopt the tool, what do? We adapt the philosophy. We steal the genius ideas without touching the code. So here are 3 powerful patterns you can borrow from claude-mem and start implementing in your own systems, like today. Pattern number 1, and this is the big one. Start implementing progressive disclosure in your own search tools. It's simpler than it sounds. Instead of having one search function that just returns full documents, break it into a 2-step process. Step 1's function returns just titles or short summaries. Then you have a second function that the agent can choose to call to retrieve the full content.
Second pattern, enforce structured logging. Seriously, stop letting your agent just save messy, unstructured text files as memories. Instead, make it save memories using a consistent format, a template. Every memory needs a crystal clear title, a type, some key facts, and concepts. This simple change alone will make your AI's knowledge base infinitely more searchable and way more useful.
The third pattern is something called semantic compression, which is a fancy way of saying write better titles. A title like about the observation. I mean, that's useless, right? But look at the good example. It's specific, it's actionable, it's instantly searchable. The AI knows exactly what this memory is about without ever having to waste tokens reading the full text.
So, as we start to wrap this up, let's zoom out a bit from just the code and focus on the fundamental shift in thinking that all of this really represents.
And that really brings us to the one big thing you should walk away with. The breakthrough here isn't the code, it's the philosophy. It's a fundamental shift from pushing information at the AI to empowering the AI to pull exactly what it needs precisely when it needs it. It is the difference between dictation and delegation.
And that leaves us with a final question for you to think about. I want you to look at your own AI systems, your own workflows. Where are you just dumping information? And how, instead, can you start giving your AI more meaningful choices? Because that is how we move from an AI that just forgets to one that truly, actually remembers.